Yesterday we worked round the clock to bring you the results. There'll be no dig ground though. No dig ground at all. Ube Juani.
Order number 1. The name is sooner that you are who was no na dear too. I feel the answer. You know,
Yes, me could. I just have a Japan and China. Uncle, me call and change. I will catch us on Abu Minya 1,000 Ghana. Catch us as Canada. Also, we are so me fear any park on nursing school man. I there 1,000 Ghana in nursing school. Then I go more. I must have got to a baby, a bin CB. I may pay a baby catch up and I won't come to Aba. The son of Obama may be near the more no mutin. I didn't quote to him, Mamma, Masabi. Man, Papa, or do you feel the panel? No, I'm a Kenny and Macra, my Belawaya, Limby, so Miss Babette to a mam, Nana. I'm making a crop 1 year, man, see Emily, where Grandma baby.
Check your time now. It's 8:23 here on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. This is the Sunrise Morning Show. My name is Johnny Hughes, and let's go straight on to Zoom and speak with Mr. Musa Dankwa. He's the Chief Executive of the Global Info Analytics, Election Researchers and Pollsters. Chief, good morning. Welcome. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing very well.
Great. You got the analysis and the prediction right, spot on, Kumawu speaking. How does that feel, first of all?
I think it vindicates our methodology and our thoroughness in doing opinion polls in Ghana. When we started, there were a lot of people who doubted us in terms of our methodology, integrity, and all sorts. But we stuck to our guns and made sure that we were doing things right. And I think with time, we'll be vindicated. And this is the beginning of that vindication.
The results, what exactly does it say to you in terms of the understanding of the people of the journey of democracy on which we're traveling?
Few things. One, it tells me that if you induce voters in your stronghold, it pays. But it may not hold true in other swing regions. So beware. And then also, if you do what we did or what happened in Kumawu, you should be prepared to expand it everywhere in the country in the future. And that will be too much onerous on your part to be able to meet, and that will really backfire. And 3, we should really encourage people to vote based on issues. We'll get there, but not now.
How long will it take for us to get there?
From my estimation and from the much we've seen, it will take like 2 more election cycles, maybe after 2032.
I see. That's a long way to go, if you ask me, because looking at the way things are going, we need to have the right plugs in the right holes.
Absolutely, absolutely. What is going to happen is that it is the changes in the demography of the voters that will force the change on us.
Now, let's pay attention to the results. Helen, you want to share the results quickly with us as we found it yesterday?
Yes. Okay. So this is the Kumawu by-election certified results. As we now know, Ernest Yao Enim of the MPP won by some 70.91%. That's 15,264 votes. Kwesi Amankwa of the NDC had 17.29% of the votes. That's 3,723. And we have Kweku Dua Senior or Kweku Dua Dove taking some 11.51% share of the votes, 2,478 votes. And we have Kweku Dua Junior or Kweku Dua Ho, if you like, taking some 0.29% share of the votes. That's 62 votes. In total, there were 21,527 valid votes. Rejected votes amounted to 204 votes. Total votes cast then 21,731. Voter turnout some 62.46%.
Right. Mr. Danko, I bring you in now. Was that a good turnout for a by-election?
It's not too bad for by-election. By-elections normally have a very low turnout. And if you look at the kind of resources MPP deployed in the region, in the constituency, even including NDC, they were all there in their big numbers. So that has even made the numbers improve slightly. If they weren't there, they would have seen the much worse numbers.
And again, I look at the figures from each time we've had an independent candidate in the mix in Kumawu. The results have been NPP, and then the independent candidate, and then NDC. But in this results, they changed. NPP, NDC, the independent candidates trailing. What went wrong?
Not that what went wrong. Things were not the same as last time or the previous time. When you have independent candidate doing well in Ashanti region or in Kumawu, it means that the division is probably quite stark. And this time around, we didn't see that kind of division in Kumawu. So that helped the MPP's candidate to be able to have a united party behind him. Baswa had an issue with Kokudia, the Dove, and since he's passing away, those issues probably went down. And NS Yahweh didn't inherit the enemies of Baswa. That is the first point. And the second point is that you have the three main leaders in MPP. The president, the vice president, and Alan Martin, including Kennedy Japan, all in fighting for a common cause, win the seat for us. It couldn't get better for NSC. And then you have NDC, who was also galvanized, trying to see how they can improve their numbers. And indeed, it did. If you look at what they did compared to 2020, their margin went up by almost 9%, and that is very remarkable for Ashanti region.
But then again, do you think that the two Kweku Duas did themselves some shooting in the foot, because Kweku Dua number one is perhaps the only one who had seen the election 2020 and this election, and so one would have thought that because his face had been there, longevity and familiarity with the people, he would have shown strongly, but that wasn't the case.
No, as I mentioned, people who were voting for him last time were doing so because they were angry. And they were angry because he was against Baswa. Baswa is no longer in the equation. And so that is the fundamental reason why his numbers plummeted in the polls.
Do you think that on the grounds the anti-independent candidate movement may have blown against him?
I think so. And also by linking him to NDC probably helped as well to make sure that people who would have otherwise voted for him decided not to vote for him because he's been linked to NDC.
We saw people say, I mean, the videos we played before you joined on, an old woman who said, well, they came to distribute things here. They didn't give me my share, but I've still come to vote for my grandson. There were those who said, look, we asked for this and you didn't give us that, so we won't vote. And then there are those who said, look, induce us or we won't vote, or induce us and we will vote in your favor. Let's pick the issues one after the other. Vote buying. What weight did it have on this by-election just gone by?
From the poll we did, it played a very key role because 36% of voters said they would vote because they are being induced. And when we looked at the data, we realized that 23% of these 30% were voting for MPP's candidate, which means that this number were induced to vote for MPP because of the inducement. And those who were voting against MPP because of inducement were 13%. So almost twice that number were voting for instead of voting against. So those numbers really made a difference as well.
And for those who were stuck with their choices, whether they got the inducement or not, would you say that's helpful to our democracy?
Absolutely not. Can you continue doing this elsewhere? And what is the implication? I mean, we are telling people that we are buying their votes. And when they sell the vote to us, I mean, what right have you got to question them when they're not performing in government? We've sold our rights, and therefore we must keep quiet. And the parties really must take a second look at some of these things. Yes, you may be desperate to win the seat, but is that how to go about it? It will come back and harm them, because in the general election, if you go anywhere that you haven't performed, you will be expected to do the same thing. Can they do the same thing elsewhere? And that will really cost them in the future, in my view.
Does this also mean that if care is not taken, this trend could be deepening further fall into monetization, where not necessarily those who are qualified to lead come to lead, but those who have the resources and the wherewithal get to lead us? Are we getting there?
I hope we don't, but I'm just hoping that there will be one or two cases that will backfire so badly that it will tell them not to do it again.
And by saying that, did the people of Kumawu miss the opportunity to send a strong signal to the government or the party in power to say, look, you don't wait until there's an election before you come and hurriedly do developmental projects. You could have done this earlier, so let's punish them so that we can get it done. Did they miss that opportunity?
I wouldn't think they would have given that seat to any other party than MPP because of the consequences. And Kumawu is a very strong MPP area. For them to really vote against them and hand the seat over to an independent or NDC would have been disastrous for MPP in Parliament. So they weighed that against the cause of punishment. Probably if it was somewhere else, it would have been a different story.
Will this mirror what could possibly happen in Asin North? Because the by-elections is lurking in the shadows somewhere. What weight does this place on Asin North?
I think they may try to do the same thing in Asin North. But I can say that in Asin North, it will really backfire. So they should have a second think about Asin North. I
don't understand.
You see, you can do this in your stronghold, where, come what may, you get the vote. But Central region is a very unique region that some of these things don't work very well. And that's why they're called swing region and swing constituency. Right. So if you try something that is very, unconventional there, believe me, the response will be a very negative one.
Even if the president, vice president, like the whole entourage we saw deployed at Kumawu go there, you think it will still not turn things around for the MPP?
Look, in fact, they should look at which of their candidates or flag bearers or aspirants is liked in the region and deploy them as such. You don't just throw anybody else in Central region because it's a leading member of the party. Some of them are really toxic in that region. and they could really send the voters away.
But Mr. Dankwa, in the Asin area, Asin South, Reverend John Intim Fojo, NPP, Asin Central, Kennedy Japan, NPP. Don't you think that the neighborliness and the way the constituencies have voted in the past would or could actually give some tint onto Asin North in that direction?
The only unique situation we have is the Asin Central, where Honorable Kennedy Japan is the MP.
Right.
Even the Asin South, the MP is on the ropes. So things are not going well there. So if he's already on the rope, it means things are not going well there. So you can't say that because it's Asin, it will be the same. No, they are different.
I see. Hold on for me. Let's introduce William Evans Inkom. He's our bureau chief for the Northern Sector, joining us again on Zoom. Bill, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and congratulations to you and your team up there for the sterling performance yesterday.
Thank you very much for having us, and thank you for also inspiring us all the time.
I hear you got a handshake from the IGP.
Yeah, so he walked to me. It was a very surprising visit. He walked to me and said he really wants to commend the team for the job that we are doing. Apparently, I think we were the only media house that was given a 360. I mean, looking at the activities of the police, especially his regular engagement and all of that. And at a point in time, we were also getting some exclusives from them, and they were very happy because they were also following keenly. So it was one of those surprise things that the IGP did just to commend us and also be grateful for the fact that we are not only focusing on the political parties, but we are also appreciating the effort of the police.
Let's go to the conversations on the ground before, during, and after the by-elections. What single strand ran through, especially the conversations among the electorates?
So the conversation of how, swift development was happening in the constituency, and against the backdrop that these developments, are they natural or they are just being triggered by a situation that has to do with the fact that something has happened and the very sponsor of that particular development needs some level of help. So he also wants to go to the bargaining table and then ensure that certain things are done so he also gets what he wants. And then they also zooming into the level of credibility and the fact that for a very long time they've been crying for certain development or projects, but they are not happening, only to happen overnight because something is in the offing. So this every corner of the constituency you pass, you hear people debating. I can remember just about a few minutes to close the polls, we were almost attacked in quotes, not to say physical attack, but there were these two gentlemen who walked to us and was like, you brought people to Kumawu to interview, and they were telling you stories that are alien to us. You never bothered to interview us because we have the real stories to tell. You think we are fools that people will come and then buy us and all of that. You know what we want, and look, we are not voting. It's actually resonated with two ladies who have come just on the stroke of polls being closed, and only to be told that one of them was told that her name could not be found in the voters register. And ordinarily, you wouldn't you expect that particular person to agitate that, look, I've come here to vote and you're telling me my name cannot be found on the voter roll. Meanwhile, 2020, the same place I put. The moment she was told that her name could not be found, she just walked away. Like, she's not bothered. She's not actually worried that her democratic right is being taken away from her. She wasn't worried. She wasn't bothered. Even the one who casted a vote for vote to close. At the point in time, the EC official was even shouting that, look, the time is almost up. We are giving you that kind of an opportunity to cast a vote, and you are working majestically. The police, commander in charge of that particular police station, exactly the Chief Palace police station, was also furious that the woman was simply not bothered by the fact that, on the stroke of full tide, so to speak, and you are working majestically, seems nothing happening, all of that. And it tells you, the sentiment tells you the level of apathy that people attached to yesterday's exercise. Right. And I can tell you, almost everybody who was brought by the ruling party, the job was to ensure that people come to the police station to vote. So, for instance, I saw one of the executive members of the Bosomche constituency moving house to house, bringing the aged to the police station to cast their votes. So the NPP needed this particular win so madly and so crazily that they were ready to do everything to get it done.
Mr. Musa Dankwa, I'll bring you in now. Let's go to the Electoral Commission. Yesterday, William Evans Inkom and Ibrahim Abubakar reported that the Electoral Commission official, one, had ordered the representative of the parties to sign a pink sheet ahead of the closure of polls. And then there was another situation where a granddaughter had alleged that the Electoral Commission official on the ground had made a decision for a voter who had decided to vote for the NDC. The commission's person moved her thumb and voted for the MPP instead, and the police had to whisk her away. These are two issues that puts the Electoral Commission in a bad light, even though the electoral process there was peaceful to a very, very large extent. Does these things, or do these things hurt the Electoral Commission? That's one. And then two, how do you want the people to look on at the Electoral Commission?
With regards to the first issue, where a form was signed before the polls have closed, I think nobody in EC should do this. And if I was EC and I investigate this, that person should be summarily dismissed. Nowhere in the laws that allow this to happen. More so coming from the officer himself. He ought to have known, and indeed he knows, that this is not allowed and this is not done. So if I was the EC, to give us some credibility, this should be investigated and the person fired, not to be allowed anywhere near a polling station again. Second, on the issue of officer forcing someone to vote for a candidate against her wishes, I think it shouldn't have ended there at all. The EC should have also investigated, calling the police, calling the witnesses. The old lady who was mentioned should have been brought to give witnesses. And then we should make sure that this person is punished. That is the only way we will stop some of these things from happening. But if it happens and nothing is done about it, we are condoning it. This is, if it is indeed is true, it's act of criminality. It's against the law.
But then, what does that mean for other elections that are yet to happen? There's Asin North coming up. There's the 2024 elections that are coming up. Is it your view that people will then start looking at the Electoral Commission with a certain kind of eye and mistrust?
Already they are under the hammer. According to the polls or survey done by Afrobarometer, only 10% of Ghanaians have confidence in them. And that they need to work it hard, make sure that they improve this confidence. Otherwise, they're going to be seen or looked at with deep suspicions.
I see. Afraid. Well, let's join with Mary Ada now. She's a programs manager, Ghana Integrity Initiative. Good morning, madam. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, and good morning to your cherished listeners.
Great. I'm sure that the reports of vote buying and influencing and treating, as the law calls it, has come to your attention. Does it shock you?
Not necessarily, judging from the past and what we have done. It is not surprising at all that these acts of vote buying continue to be perpetuated in our election cycle. The Ghana Integrity Initiative and its partners have done work over time that has sought to document instances of incumbency abuse and also vote buying or electoral corruption in its totality. But vote buying features prominently in these instances. As part of our initiative under Corruption Watch as well, we have done some investigations documenting the inter-party primaries that happened, and we also documented this. So it's not surprising at all, but the level of impunity is what we should be discussing. When people are competing, the competition is supposed to be informed by ideas, be informed by policy direction, and be informed by the ideology based on which people buy into. Unfortunately, I believe in most of the instances we are either inept or we are bankrupt for policy alternatives and ideas. And for that matter, people tend to then use other means, like bribing the voters. And just about a week ago, when the NDC also had their primaries, we issued a statement commending them for a very peaceful process. But then we had instances that we also highlighted that should be brought to the attention of the party itself, but then also to the actors of state to deal with. So it's not something that is unique. It happens, but we need as a people to begin to look at how we can handle this. Otherwise, the impunity with which it is occurring now is worrying.
I want to understand. So this, where do we put it, the blame? Do we put it on the vulnerability of the people, or do we put the blame on the fact that the people themselves allow for these things to happen?
First of all, we must say that when you look at the theories we are dealing with, you realize that when you take the market theory, it talks to you strictly about the benefits people tend to want to achieve when it comes to issues around competition, particularly when people believe that they have been left behind for a long time and they are not part and parcel of the distribution of the national cake. Then they become vulnerable, and they also then accept their situation and look at how they also benefit from the few opportunities that arise for them. Again, the challenge has had to do with the type of democracy we are practicing. I say so because the winner takes all tends to engage in excessive partisanship where the competition to win is very high. And so it becomes very open, and people want to do all manner of things to ensure that they are winning these elections, and we see them on a daily basis. And the excessive partisanship based on which thinking has been skewed towards also then presents a big problem. But then, all in all, the biggest challenge has had to do with the inaction and the lack of sanctions that should follow some of these congruent behaviors. If we were to be sanctioning people as per our electoral party regulation and as per the Criminal Offences Act, which talks about bribing of voters by officials, then we would be making some headway in curbing the issue around vote buying and generally electoral corruption and abuse of incumbency in our party election.
How do we curb this? Because it looks like it's not going away very, very soon. Mr. Musa Dankwa says that, look, we will need at least 2 election cycles, maybe after 2032, to know whether or not we are really out of the woods. Where do you stand on that view of Mr. Musa Dankwa, and how do we curb all of this?
I tend to have a contrary view. I know that it's a difficult situation to deal with, that is true. But then if our laws are biting enough, and I remember the Office of the Special Prosecutor not too long ago when an official decided to bribe assembly people to vote the person into power if you remember correctly, when he was called on, that particular gentleman did not get the nod, and he is still being investigated. And so when we know that the sanctions that follow our contrary behavior would be high, people would tend to comply. Human beings as we are would definitely go doing what we want because we do not want to lose. But when we know that if we lose, we would also have some serious sanction being meted out to us for going contrary to the law, people would definitely comply. But I agree that it will take some time to get this done. But the problem is we as the people have not been committed enough to show leadership. And so if leadership begins to commit to these processes, and then we eschew from supporting and trying at all costs to defend some of these indefensible acts, then we would be making a headway. For instance, you hear a party person talking about giving TNT to people to go and vote. Is that our duty? If we have been able to sell our messages very well, people definitely would come to vote for us. And we would not have to then be inducing people or motivating people to want to do what is their civic duty.
Well, yesterday, one of the ladies in Kumawu mentioned to our reporter that, look, I asked the MP to give me 1,000 cedis. He said he couldn't afford it. But then right in my home, he came and sponsored somebody to go through nursing school. And so because of that, I will never vote again. We're getting there to the point where people are now shunning away from their civic duties because they have not been given what they asked for, or they see others getting something and they're not getting. That's why they will not be part of the process. That's not good for our democracy, is it?
It is not definitely good for our democracy. And we have had instances where we have given cited people who have also demanded for certain developmental projects to then vote for a certain party. And we have had, during election cycles, you would hear some of them saying, no electricity, no vote. So meaning that our civic responsibility or our constitutional duty as citizens to choose the best alternatives for the governance of this country is being checked by the people. And it's as a result of what we are seeing, unfortunately. But that as well does not bode well for us. And so going forward, as I was talking about, we need more education to let people know that the alternative to democracy is not what we want. And so people must be proactive enough. And in that doing, which I believe the NCC has the Herculean task to accomplish in this. Because people cannot just say they will not vote, unless, of course, you are a Jehovah's Witness who say they do not partake in elections.
Is the NCC strong enough in terms of resources and the financial muscle to achieve what you are asking them to achieve? Of course, what is enshrined in the law for them?
I didn't get that. Are you
I'm asking now. We do know that the National Commission for Civic Education is under-resourced. They have said it too many times. ISD same, and many other organizations that are supposed to be educating the public. So it's obvious that they do not have the financial muscle and the resources to achieve what we're expecting of them. Would we rather not direct these calls at the government to make allocation and provision for them so that they're able to deliver the people from that darkness?
Great. So I was coming to that the government's mantra of fighting corruption can only be manifested in its actions. And we, as the Ghana Integrity Initiative, have had calls in the past to speak to some of these resourcing issues. It's not just about the money, it is also about the capacity of the institution, and it's also about the will to do more. So yes, definitely, resourcing civic institutions is very critical. But then again, sometimes you tend to believe that some of this lack of resourcing is intentional to continue to keep the people unaware and uninformed so that government whims and caprices would be actualized. That is the only reason we can attribute to such institutions which have staff who are paid on a monthly basis to do virtually next to nothing. And so if government wants to actualize its commitment to fight corruption, then all the institutions who must be empowered, either as civic educators, either as anti-corruption fighters through investigations and sanctioning, must be capacitated enough and then independently so to be able to do their work without any fear or favor. And I believe that in this instance, the NCCE, which is a constitutional body, would do this country a lot of good because they are located everywhere in the 161 or thereabouts districts that we have in Ghana. So what is preventing the state from resourcing the NCCE and let me say the EC in these times to ensure that we do education and then ensure people understand, they comprehend, and they utilize their mandate as it should be. The only reason one would begin to think about is that because these lack of information serves the interest of the the government party, then they tend to perpetuate this and continue to ensure that they have the citizens at their beck and call. So when they hand out 50 CDs and the 5 kilo rice, and others, we believe we have gotten it. So until such a time that government actualizes this rhetoric by action, resourcing the institutions, helping them to develop their capacity further, to be able to engage the citizenry, empower citizens to say no. We would be making a joke of this fight against vote buying and election corruption.
Next year will be the big election for 2024, 7 December. These by-elections, someone says, is a dress rehearsal for the big day in 2024. But we also do know that the NDC has had a frosty relationship along with the other minority parties with the Electoral Commission because they have always raised questions and doubts. In fact, it does appear that when parties are in opposition, they always have qualms with the Electoral Commission. Now, the Electoral Commission yesterday had two incidences which almost marred the process. One, where some EC official actually ordered two party agents to sign the pink sheet before the polls had closed. In fact, that matter was resolved. The pink sheet was discarded. A new one was issued in its stead. Number two, an old lady or granddaughter of an old lady said she wanted to vote for the NDC because she had to be assisted to vote. And then the EC official on the ground actually voted in the opposite direction against her wish. We can talk about Ketu North, the primaries of the NDC, and the stamping of the the ballot sheets and all of that. You can talk about 2020 elections and how Nanado's portion of the ballot sheet was torn off, on about 20 or so sheets before it was issued out there. So right from the get-go, he had lost those 20 votes if the people had decided to vote for him. What does that say of the image and integrity of the Electoral Commission ahead of 2024?
I must say here that even though I do not have the full facts of this matter, what you are saying is what I'm basing my thoughts on.
These are the full details from our reporters on the ground, which was shown on TV3 yesterday.
All right. So to say that coming events cast their shadows would not be over. So we are saying if these are truly the instances which have been captured, and I saw the pre-signed
pink sheet, right?
That is very worrying, to say the least. Why would we pre-sign when the elections have not started? And so I believe the EC has some standard operation procedures it works with. So it is incumbent on the EC to attend to this issue expeditiously. It is in their own interest because people already have issues. People have trust issues with the Electoral Commission, and you have indicated that the NDC has challenges. I believe every other party which sees this would be worried. So the EC should quickly activate their standard operation procedure and then deal with the issue. If they are found guilty, they should be sanctioned according to their SOP. It is important to do this as quickly as possible to send the right signal to the people of Ghana that the EC would not compromise its standards by allowing a certain few of its personnel to engage in behaviors that can bring its reputation into disrepute, and which also have the likelihood of breeding some conflict in country. It's not just for the EC, but I believe this then calls on the Peace Council as well to interrogate some of these instances or the sporadic instances you are mentioning, to engage the EC to look at how to address EC and the parties involved to look at how to address these. So if an EC official, if I am deformed or disabled in any way, and I want to vote for a certain party, and the EC official asks me to vote in a certain way, certainly it is for an informed citizen. It is for the person who voted to insist that their rights are met, or whatever they wanted to do is what is done. We have been quiet for a long time, and we continue to allow some things to happen to us. So it's for the citizens to demand that their rights are upheld, and it is for the EC to ensure that these rights are met. And if they are not, then they must activate their SOP to ensure that their staff who are making them complicit in some of these wrongdoings are dealt with expeditiously to serve as a deterrent for any person who would wish to do same in the future.
Mariada, thank you very much. You're Programs Officer of the Ghana Integrity Initiative. Grateful that you could join us this morning here on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great. William Evanzinkum, I hear you're back on Zoom. Let's wrap up the conversation this way. So, a day after the elections, what is happening at Kumawu? Do we still have the road construction and the projects ongoing?
So, Kumawu Town Roads projects have been completed. Now, they are on the adjoining communities. So, for instance, Kumawu Bodomase and Kumawu Dadiase, Uraso, Olo, True Uraso, Dadiase. As at last night, the contractor was still on site, and there's an assurance that that particular project will continue. So they're looking at 10 kilometers straight. But an insider told me this year, he is not sure that the project will be able to finish. In fact, I think the most important to the government was the completion of Kumawu inner roads or town roads, and that has been completed.
And the sentiments of the people exactly are what? That, well, they did this for the elections, or, it will continue? Because I'm not too sure if they have this information which you have.
Some still have their doubts that the project will continue. Some believe that it was done for the sake of the election. The others who also believe that it will continue.
Bill, I thank you very much indeed for your time this morning, and grateful that you could join us. We are grateful.
Thank you.
Great. That's William Evans Income there.
Plenty questions, no answer.
Plenty questions, no answer, Ellen.
Another big congratulations to William and the team. And as the IGP rightly said, we gave a 360 view of what was happening, engaging all various stakeholders in the process. We don't call ourselves the Election Command Center for nothing.
Yeah.
And so kudos to the rest of the team. The analysis was solid, and we traveled along the journey to finally ending that by-election.
It kept me in the studio. This work. It go be small. Now, are you a government worker looking for quick access to financial assistance at most competitive interest rates? Look no further. CBG is offering you access to loans up to 250,000 Ghana cedis and up to 72 months of repayment period. For more information on how to access CBG controller loans, walk into any of CBG's 144 branches nationwide, or contact us on 0302 216000. That's 0302 216000, or email info@cbg.com.gh. Website is www.cbg.com.gh, or on all their social media handles, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, for additional information. Terms and conditions apply. CBG, we stand by you.
3FM 92.7.
And every time you brush your teeth, every time you eat, food and sugars are trapped between your teeth, leading to tooth decay, gum disease, and in some cases foul breath. Brushing your teeth every morning and night with Pepsodent Cavity Fighter gives your teeth the protection that they need, leaving you with 10 times stronger teeth. Pepsodent Cavity Fighter is fortified with pro-fluoride and micro-calcium ingredients, sealing tiny and invisible holes in your teeth. This prevents cavities, keeps your teeth strong and mouth healthy. Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, maximum cavity protection, 10 times stronger teeth, 25 years education you to brush day and night. Pepsodent is recommended by the Ghana Dental Association, and there are two other highly effective variants of Pepsodent on the market that you should know about. One is Pepsodent Charcoal, made with a fine blend of activated charcoal and lemon essence. Pepsodent Charcoal White gently polishes away tooth stains and naturally restores your bright smile. Pepsodent Herbal, for our herbal lovers. Try Pepsodent Herbal toothpaste formulated from carefully selected natural extracts and uniquely blended herbs. Pepsodent Herbal releases, repairs, and protects your gum tissues while giving you strong teeth. You can get Pepsodent at any shop near you, or call the customer care line on toll free 0800 200 030. That's 0800 200 030. Always remember to brush your teeth in the morning and before you sleep at night. Pepsodent, every smile matters. Let's go now onto the phone line and speak with Mr. Sami Obeng, Parliamentary News Network, joining us now. Sami, good morning. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Good morning, Johnny. Thanks for having me.
Great. Now, let's go straight into Kumawu issues and look at the numbers. Now, the MPP has a replacement for the individual who is now deceased, Philip Baswa. Does this change anything at all in Parliament, knowing full well that in Asin North, Jachi Kwesin has been asked by the Supreme Court to stay away from Parliament? In fact, Parliament is supposed to expunge his name from their records. What do the numbers mean, and what does it do with business?
Well, with the Kumawu by-elections out of the way, not much gets changed in Parliament because, of course, anybody who has watched elections and election results over the years knows that, there was no way that Kumawu was going to go another way. Perhaps the only surprise factor would have been the independent candidate who showed a lot of prowess in the 2020 election. But, of course, we saw that this time around it didn't work out too well for him. What that means is that, the majority side comes back to their regular number in Parliament with the replacement of the Honorable Philip Basoa, the late Honorable Philip Basoa. I think that the main deciding factor really would be the by-elections that is likely to, or that would actually be taking place in Asin North, which would have an effect on the number dynamics. But remember that, Asin North has been without a representative in Parliament for the past 1 year already. And so all the things that have been happening, in Parliament in the last 1 year and all the, challenges, the number game and what have you, will still remain the same. I mean, with Kumawu and Asin North out of the way, not too much will change with the number situation in Parliament.
If the NDC had won, what would that have meant for the numbers in Parliament and in terms of control and all of that?
First of all, I think the NDC itself knew they were not going to win Kumawu. It would have been the biggest news in our election situation if the NDC won Kumawu. But yes, I mean, hypothetically, if the NDC had won Kumawu, what it would mean is that the current 274 members of Parliament we have, with the declaration of the Supreme Court of Asin North, which is out of the way, would then have a balance of 137 on both sides. And that would have been, a break-even kind of number. But that obviously did not happen. I think that Asin North, which NDC has a very good potential of winning, and it's an everybody's game really in Asin North, would be the determining factor. It would help to determine whether the 137-138 slim majority that exists in Parliament will be maintained, or we would go to a 139-136 situation, which also, then gives a bit of leverage for the majority in Parliament when it comes to the numbers and when voting needs to be done.
And now there are lots and lots of concerns about vote buying and matters arising. If you have been following Parliament here in Ghana and across the continent, in terms of the quality of the individuals who represent us, those who get through because they deserve to go through because they are qualified, and those who come through because they have the money and the support or the influence, what does it say to you?
Well, for a rather peaceful, largely peaceful elections in Kumawu, one that also had a relatively better voter turnout for by-elections and all of that, it would have been a very good election outcome if the issues of vote buying did not, read its head as seriously as it did in this instance. We've seen footages. Most of them, have not been independently verified, but they are all over the place. And we know that vote buying is a very, very big problem for our elections as a country. In fact, we also know that the cost of politics in this country is getting out of the way. And particularly for Parliament and parliamentarians, it is affecting the quality of parliamentarians we're having in Parliament. Look, these recent issues of having parliamentarians who are not, thinking about how they can settle debates through conversations on the floor of Parliament, through settling conversations on the floor of Parliament with, debate and arguing their points out, but would usually want to do fisticuffs. Would usually want to do fisticuffs, as a way of settling debates. It's because of the quality of people that we are churning out. Because it looks like, Parliament is now for the highest bidder. And when you continue to churn out these kinds of people, they will be the people who would not have the gravitas that the parliamentarians of old in the first, second, third parliament or so had in having very cogent debates, making amazing statements, using parliamentary question time and the oversight functions that they have at the committee level to settle issues. So now members of parliament who think that you've got to be boisterous and, cause problems on the floor of parliament and show your bravado to show that you are really a member of parliament, purely because these are people who are taking, many of them are people who are taken from the stock of MPs who get to win because they have the deepest pocket,
right?
And not really people who can be said to be career legislators who understand the dynamics of being a legislator and a good one at that.
Right. Now, again, then it comes down to how the people are being served. Because if the quality that gets in there to legislate on your behalf does not have the capacity to read and understand documents, to analyze, to be able to even sponsor a private member's bill, to push for all those things and to influence laws that will come to impact the people in the communities where they represent, then the people will not be properly served. No?
Well, you are right. And that's the price that we as a people must get to recognize as what we pay for allowing our vote to be bought, or allowing our representation to be determined by who pays the biggest amount of money. Because the 50 cedis or the wax prints or the bags of rice that you receive, you must know that you are exchanging that for effective representation, you are exchanging that for effective oversight, you are exchanging that for effective lawmaking. And all of these things will have a telling effect on all of us for a 4-year period. So one has got to, decide on whether you want to sacrifice all of these things on the altar of, 50 Ghana cedis or 100 cedis or rice, rather than, having 4 years of effectiveness. But that is it for us at the citizenry side. We need a lot of education for us as citizens to be able to realize and recognize that these things that we do, these demands that we make of the politicians, these situations where we have young people massed up at polling stations and indicating that if they are not given money, they will not go to vote. That's the price they've got to pay. But on the side of those who are offering, giving the money, I think that we need not turn a blind eye on this situation.
Okay.
It becomes nauseating when the law enforcement agencies or the organizations that are supposed to, act or speak about these matters tend to turn a blind eye on these issues and always use the excuse of there is no evidence. I'm wondering what kind of evidence one needs if you've got a video footage that shows that somebody is giving somebody money. If we belong to a country where security systems work very well, people in the video should be able to be recognized, and when they are recognized, interrogated. When people recognize that, in some instances or in many instances, people who involve themselves in such situations are interrogated, those who've got to be punished get punished. It helps to reduce the rate at which these things get done. But if I can get away with it all the time, then I will do it all the time.
Do you see Parliament itself as an institution, an arm of government, making efforts to rectify what is fast becoming the trend and an anomaly?
Parliament has both a responsibility and an interest to want to deal with this matter. Responsibility because, cost of politics and election financing and all of that can be an issue that can come about. I mean, we can help address those issues with international best practices on ways that these things have worked in other places, mainly through legislation. And who passes the law? It is Parliament, right? So they have a responsibility in ensuring that they will rally to make sure that such laws, are dealt with. The executive brings them, and we are able to get them passed.
Right.
But they also have an interest, and the interest is that recent research about cost of politics in Ghana points to the fact that one needs well over 4 million Ghanas to become a member of parliament. If a member of parliament receives a little over 220,000 Ghana cedis a month as his or her salary, what it means is that for your entire 4 years in parliament, and even if you add ex gratia, you are not going to meet up the cost that you spend in executing your campaign. So if I am a legislator or if I am a potential legislator, I should have an interest in wanting to curb this situation so that I do not get to spend so much in executing a political agenda or an electioneering agenda, only to come to parliament to realize that really everything is gone, and then I'm only left with not being able to concentrate on parliamentary business, but rather to do private businesses in the name of wanting to raise, additional revenue to service my loan, service my debt, and to keep myself and my family going. That's not a very sustainable system. And parliamentarians must come to the recognition that the ball is really in their court. They must be the ones, starting with the cry, so that we know that there is death in their backyard,
right,
for us to also join them in the wailing.
And for now, you don't see that happening.
Well, the challenge is that a legislation such as this certainly will not be a private member's legislation, because there will be financial implications on the state. And it certainly must emanate from the executive branch. Obviously, we've not seen the executive branch take such steps. Successive governments have not really taken such steps. I think that the conversation must begin. I think that members of parliament must use tools available to them to ask these questions on the floor of parliament. For example, asking the Attorney General and Minister for Justice that are there plans to be able to put across, a piece of legislation around, election financing. Where are we on that? So that he comes to answer, so that we know that the position of the government on this particular subject matter and things like that. Using their respective engagements with these ministers to ask these questions, so that we can know clearly what the government's position is on this matter. But also for all of us, those of you in the media, those of us in civil society, using the channels that we have around these times when election is almost near, and when political parties will be putting out their manifestos and what have you, to interrogate the matters, to ask the question that if you say you want to curb corruption, what are the steps that you are intending to curb corruption, and what are the steps that you are intending to nip the drivers of corruption, including political campaign financing, in the bud, so that when those drivers get solved, it can help us reduce the rate of corruption. Because we all know in this country, it is no news that because of the one who is paying the piper at the time of election, the person gets to call the tune when the piper becomes, the authority. And so procurement issues that are going one way, the sole sourcing, the continuous engagement on some, profligate expenditure that we keep complaining about, but
right,
it's not changing.
Right.
It's purely because people paid for people's campaigns. And once they pay for their campaigns, those people have them, in their pocket, and they call the tune. So our state has been literally captured. And these state capturing situations must start from how people get elected and what they spend in getting elected.
Will it be easy, given the fact that, look, rightly as you stated, politics of patronage, people see a certain reward system for how much investments they make into these ones. Political parties want to shroud everything in secrecy and opacity. They don't want you to know how much they spent. There's a law that says that they must submit their fully audited accounts to the Electoral Commission before the major elections. At the last count, I remember it was only the PPP that was able to beat the deadline, which means that the NDC and the MPP should have been disqualified, but they went through anyway. It does appear that even the systems that we have already put in place to check these things are not being properly applied. It certainly won't be easy, will it?
No, it wouldn't. The oligarchs, the business people, the people who have captured states will certainly fight these things, because for them it is to their benefit, right? And that is the minority, the few people, the few who are benefiting from the other side of the inequality, curve. But we belong to the majority, those who this inequality is affecting the most. And we need to speak out, and we need to call them out, and we need to stamp our feet, and we need to, talk about these issues and press on until these things change. I do not think that with all their money, with all their influence, with all their power, they can be able to suppress the power and the voices of the masses if the masses decide that we are coming together to be able to have these things dealt with. We've seen in other places that when the masses decided and the masses were committed to these things, the necessary changes, happened. Even in our own country, we've seen how masses helped stop the building of another chamber. We've seen how masses helped, deal with matters relating to fixing the country. We've seen how masses help with dealing with the issues relating to e-levy and what have you. And so we have the power. And ours is to be able to recognize that if we fail to exercise this power, then we'll be talking about these galamsey situations, we'll be talking about these corruption situations, we'll be talking about these procurement situations all the time, and they wouldn't be solved because they started somewhere else. And perhaps we need to start citing examples for people to recognize that this galamsey matter that we are talking about, which is not being solved, which is affecting our waters, which is making us give birth to children who are being deformed and what have you, can be traced back to the fact that somebody gave money to a politician to execute their political campaign, for which reason that person needs to recoup his or her money through galamsey, for which reason the politician cannot say anything, although he'll come out to say, I'm fighting it, but will do absolutely nothing about it because he has a contractual arrangement with that person to go ahead with galamsey to recoup the money, and we will be the ones to suffer.
Samuel Bing,
these examples must go out to the people very clearly so they understand.
Samuel Bing, I thank you very much indeed for your time. He's Executive Director of Parliamentary News Africa. We're grateful that you could join us this morning. Have a nice day.
My pleasure always.
Thank you. 27 minutes after 9 here on 3FM 92.7. We have a health conversation coming up with Helen. And Helen, what are we talking about?
So, the month of May, we tagged it as our family month.
Absolutely.
So in keeping with the theme, we'll be talking about family health as a whole, managing your family's health, what to do, preventative, even talking about health insurance, what you should be looking out for, and all of that in its totality.
All in totality and so on and so forth. Let's pick a few calls and then we'll get into that health conversation here on 3FM Sunrise on 92.7. And we told you there's nothing as powerful as a mother's love. So this Mother's Day season, it's time to celebrate our mothers with the ultimate gift, the gift of rest and relaxation with Mama's Day Off. 3FM 92.7 wants to give you some incredible mother treatment around the country. The ultimate gift, a day off from work, chores, kids and stress. Have an uninterrupted day of pampering every other Sunday in the family month of May. You just need to tell us why your mother deserves it in 60 seconds or less. Send a voice note telling us why your mother is the best and most hardworking mother and why she deserves a day of pampering and relaxation courtesy 3FM 92.7 in the Mama's Day Off promotion. Add your name, your mother's name and your number as part of the entry. Your entries must be sent via WhatsApp number 059-7433-110 059-7433-110. Your wonderful mother could stand the chance of winning an all expense paid pampering session, hampers and a dinner buffet for Mama and a +1 and other exciting prizes. Mama's Day Off is powered by 92.73 FM and supported by TV3, proudly sponsored by So Clean, Marina Mall and Veuve Duvernay, France. Terms and conditions apply. And the Corporate Connect is coming up. Look out for the details. 0592928795 and 0208227290. 0592928795 and 0208227290. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, sir. Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much. I think you've touched where my interest is. Johnny, is the system that's creating all of these problems. Unless we look at the governance structures. It is there to empower citizens in this country. But we've decided to dismantle it, by the politicians, then they get their way. This is why it's creating all this monetization of our politics. When the people are not empowered. Yesterday you said something. They repeated this morning about the NCC. why are we not interested in empowering the NCC, resourcing them to be able to do their work? I mean, civic education is there to empower the youth. But how are we doing it? That's the problem. We have constructed structures that's supposed to give power to the people. But we decided not to work with the structure. And my question, Johnny, with the MPs is that they come to your studio and tell you, hey, the place is very hot. The demand is too much. But when the time comes, they spend a lot to go back there.
Okay.
What is really there that they don't want us to know?
I hear you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Coach Sammy. Grateful. Good morning.
Johnny, yes,
Precious, Johnny. Yes, sir. Talk to me.
Johnny, now we have to teach our children now different teaching so that we ban this wickedness in their mind. Because the big men, all they put down for the youth them to learn is corrupt. You see, bad living. So the school that they are going to, they are practicing, they don't know the law of our country. That's why many are illiterate. You know, how can you bribe somebody? Or they say a giver is a sinner, a taker is a sinner. Before they said. So right now, let's make wide and ban these people who do these things, Johnny, because it's caused financial loss to the state.
Okay.
All
right.
And if they bribe and before they get power, it's caused financial. If NDC and MPP, they can't do the right thing, let's ban them and take different parties that will practice the democracy for everywhere. You see, they are not the only parties and the power where they can't control Ghana in the right way. You see, so we just ban them because football says there is law. We ban footballers. Why are we not banning these politicians?
All right.
They use our money to bribe our brothers before they vote for them.
Thank you, Precious. Grateful. Truth is in Accra. Good morning.
Good morning, Johnny.
Yes,
I know you are doing well and bigger than Accra.
Absolutely.
So this morning, we were not expecting anything less from Kumawu. It looks like they have shown us that the system is not going to change. The politician is still going to have their way.
Yeah.
They are not going to be accountable to anything. And that is why everybody wants to go into politics now. So, Obiara and Swingen do. There's nothing we can do. The man said it will take 2 or 3 elections. Some of us there, we think it will take like 50 years. Because if we are still going to vote on tribal lines, then Ghana is headed for doom. And some of us, we just have to probably give up. But you have the platform. So, Johnny, please don't let anybody intimidate you. I saw your post you made on Twitter. Don't let them bother you.
Say I've gone to
don't let
money.
it even get to you. Please keep being the voice for the voiceless. Most of these journalists have been bought. They have all been bought, and we know it. When they like then NDC told them, when you give you the money, and come and tell us the truth. Some of us, we will listen.
I hear you. Thank you.
Listen. Thank you for the good job you are doing.
We're grateful. Truth. Thank you so much. Eben, good morning. Talk to me.
We will not give up until this country is rescued from this liability administration. Okay? We will not give up. Even if 1 minute or a second for us to die, we will rescue this nation. You see, because this nation cannot be handled by people which are called liability. And for them, what they know is to just destroy the country. They don't listen to anything. But each and anything that will criticize, the IMF will come and tell them that no, this and that. Meanwhile, we've already informed them that what you are doing, you will bring calamity to the nation. Johnny, you know something? It seems to me, the kind of voters we are in this country is the kind of politicians we have. Kumawu have proved that for them, when they see a MPP t-shirt, it is nice to them, and they will continue to vote that pattern. They don't understand what is developing. But this Kumawu by-election is a wake-up call for the national executive of the NDC. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't know.
How on earth will you have 9 executive members of a police station to make sure they set the affairs of the police station? You go and vote and you get a police station, you get 2. Where are the 9 executives and their members?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Good morning. Fatah, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Johnny. Kawula.
Hey, Alafia.
Another day has come.
Yes,
God.
Yes.
Johnny. My little concern is that the ECG is always giving excuses which you don't even understand. And we all know that the chief executive was appointed by the president. Then the PRC was appointed by the president. So both of them, they are in the same thing. Why will he tell us that pay more? Let me increase your distance. Let me increase my viability. Let me increase the scope. Let me give you quality. You increase the lives you will pay and the lives of so yesterday, Kaswa, the same thing. What happened? No explanation. You are there. Boom, the thing goes. Nobody will explain anything to you. And you are paying. Even January, this coming June, they are yet to increase another one. Why? What have we done wrong? What kind of country are we living? I think we are born in the country. I am told on the ground that ECG has been sold to Chinese people. And they are paying. That's the money they are going to use and pay their debt.
Well,
they are owing.
We defaulted in a debt.
What kind of country are we living?
We have defaulted in a death. So we have to pay. That's what it is. Thank you, Fatal. Papa Bisu, good morning.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
Eshim.
I mean, boy, now. But the chair, Prophylactic, Helen, William, and all the guys making things possible for your network to be that solid. May all the blessings come on your network, my brother.
Amen.
Now, serious to the issue on board. I associate myself with the guy who called it the connection with the electricity something.
Right.
The way things are going is really, really, really bad. Really bad. If you are increasing the bills left, right, and center, it's sad. Sad to be a Ghanaian under Nanado's governance. Now, this issue of our, what do you call it, the Kumawu by-election, it is a wake-up call rather for MPP people to the government, to Nanado, the vice president, and others. They went there buying votes, sharing money, rice, and things like that. Can they be able to share the whole country? I mean, those who are going to vote come 2024, cash and rice? Can they? So 2024, what happened at Kumawu, it shows that it's possible that we will rescue this country from the hands of these corrupt MPP people.
I hear you. Thank you.
Who is celebrating Napo? I mean, the energy minister. Because of Freddie Blaze. But Freddie Blaze is not part of them. He was from CPP, and due to Nanado's, connection, became chairman of MPP.
Okay.
If it had been an MPP person who is in this particular petrol SC deal, Napo will have kept quiet. They should give us a break. And the CEOs, I don't know why they've now collected some cards and then they are
thank
making
you,
noise.
Papa. Grateful. Clifford, you're our final caller for this belt. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Johnny. Good morning to you and then your colleagues in the studio.
Right.
Johnny, I am a bit surprised of what has happened in Kumawu. Whenever we talked about this country, everybody is crying that we are suffering. And we still have a group of people voting for MPP government to be in power again. I can't think fast enough, because I don't know whether they are having a different planet that they live in, or we are rather not working, or our pay is not even increasing. Because I don't get it at all. Every scandal associated with this government, and people cannot even think far and still go ahead to vote for this government. I believe that we are in doom indeed. Because this kind of party covenant, if we don't take it out, we will still be in a mess. Good morning.
Morning. We have to go and make way for Prophylactic Helen. The conversation. And who's your guest? Dr.
Egblewugbe.
Egblewugbe.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the name. Dr. Egblewugbe.
Indeed.
Oh my God. Sunrise Morning Show. Sweeter than ketchup.
Situation's looking kind of bad. I lost the best girl I ever had. I'm homeless and I'm feeling kind of sad.
3FM Sunrise.